I'm Martin Wallace.
I'm Darren McCarthy.
I am Dan Fury.
And this is The Fundamentals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right back in it.
Felt good that time. Did we do it right?
I think we always do it right.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, I think we always do it right. I think it always sounds good.
We always comment on it.
We always ask.
Oh, that was great.
That was part of the show.
Is that what we do? What do we do now?
Wait, how do we do this?
Do we say our names?
Yeah, I think we're making it worse at this point.
First one was pretty good. Circus. We came out hard right out of the gate.
I think we had that groundswell of emotion, just of, we're doing this for the first time and it's going to be great, and now it's just, hey, we're in a backyard with some whiskey. Whatever.
Ugh.
Welcome to the show.
All right. Well, what are we talking about this time?
We're talking about the
Electoral College.
Let's do that again.
Yeah, it's in the title. Like people know.
Hey, if you clicked on it, you should know.
I gotta ask. You gotta be clear.
It's true.
That's how it works.
We're talking about the Electoral College.
All right.
Now, I know you are ready to rock
100%
on this.
I mean, I'm going to do the best I can.
So
it's not the simplest subject.
Let me throw out the basics here.
Okay.
And
let's get those out of the way.
Can we start with the Constitution first? How familiar are you guys with the Constitution?
I fairly, I guess.
Seen it.
You want to read it? You have a very theatrical voice.
Sure.
The first four. This is Article 2, Sections 1 through 4.
Section 1:1. The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the terms of 4 years and, together with the Vice President, chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Each state shall appoint, in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct, a number of electors, equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. But no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector. The elector shall meet in the respective states and vote by ballot for 2 persons, of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. And they shall make a list of all the persons voted for and the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all their certificates and the votes shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes shall be the President, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed. And if there be more than one who have such majority and have an equal number of votes, then the House of Representatives shall immediately choose by ballot one of them for President. And if no person have a majority, then from the 5 highest on the list, the said House shall be in like manner choose the President. But in choosing the President, the vote shall be taken by states, the representation from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. In every case, after the choice of the President, the person having the greatest number of votes of the electors shall be the Vice President. But if there should remain 2 or more who have equal votes, the Senate shall choose them from them by ballot, the Vice President. The Congress may determine the time of choosing the electors and the day on which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States. Let's break that down a little bit.
Yeah. So that's, in essence, where all of this comes from. What happens after that is it goes on to explain who can and can't be president and what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So our Constitution is wonderfully specific and at the same time very, very open to interpretation and also very boring. So what that means is what the Electoral College is and what it's become.
So we, as Americans, have the luxury of choosing who represents us. We don't choose them the way we think we do.
Now, a lot of people are confused about how American politics work.
Sure are.
They, somewhere along the line, were explained what democracy was and then stopped listening.
Yeah.
It's the way that I sort of have interpreted it. And listening to people talk about being upset with nothing ever gets done or there's just a cat in our yard for some reason. That's awesome.
Whoa.
Yeah. Hi, cat.
That cat was on the other side of the fence.
Huh.
That's no cat.
What the?
That's a space station.
That's a space station. Anyway, so it's easy to hear the term democracy and just stop there and say, oh, we all get one vote, we all get a say, whatever. Well, it's not true.
Yeah.
That's we live in an indirect democracy. We are a representative democracy, which is we get to elect certain people to speak on our behalf for everything else. So we think we're voting for the president, and it sure is made to sound that way.
Yeah.
But we don't.
We vote for the people who are going to vote for the president.
Right.
Which is a pretty funny thought,
Yeah.
really, because it's never presented that way.
No.
Nobody ever says, oh, you better go out there and vote for the people who are going to vote. Or I guess, like, why the hell would you? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And also, like, why is that step there?
Yeah. I think that this is one of those things that every, 12 years gets brought out. The electoral college is really that becomes the narrative, that becomes the big thing.
It happens a lot when it doesn't coincide with the popular vote, for sure.
That's happened a couple times. That's happened four times historically, where
it happened very recently.
Yeah, in 2000.
Bush.
Before that, there was the
1800s.
corrupt bargain with Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
Some very historical decisions by Congress to lead the country in a way that was not what the popular vote wanted, but we'll get into that. So the reason we have an electoral college and not direct democracy is because the founders of the Constitution came from a tyrannical government, and they were very, very scared of finding themselves in that position again. But the people who wrote our Constitution were wealthy, landowning white men. And they were pretty smart for their time, literate, well-read, and they were very, very worried of a thing called the tyranny of the masses. They were very scared of an actual tyrant, a king, a monarch. They had just fought a war against one. And they were equally scared of this idea that the uneducated majority would vote against smart people's decision-making at every whim and whiff of whatever felt good at the time.
Yeah. So people just riding the swell of popular opinion, choosing someone who was maybe they were emotionally tied to.
Great orators. I mean, we're dealing with that right now. Somebody like Trump, and say what you will about him, I have yet to hear anything other than good speeches from him. There is no talk at all about diplomacy or policy.
None of it.
There is simply make America great again.
Make a big splash.
And it sounds really good on paper, and he speaks at a fourth grade level, which isn't, it's not a diss on him. It is a very good tactic because he relates to your common person.
Yeah, I think
he speaks like...
That's what we call being broad.
Exactly. So people can relate to him and they don't understand he's not saying anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't debate. He doesn't talk about policy. He just says, yeah, exactly. And this isn't new. And it's what the founders were worried about.
And so the Electoral College is a bit of mechanics to prevent that person who, the quote unquote, that person being elected every single time.
And this is not to say Trump supporters at all are dumb.
No.
And it's not to say that Trump is anything other than that's his tactic right now from what I've observed. So if just to be totally fair, it's just happening right now. But it is a sort of a gatekeeper in place. The Electoral College is to make sure that the uneducated person does not have too much say.
Right.
Which is unfair to the now more educated populace, in theory. Us people listening right now, we're all more educated than the people that the founders were worried about at the time.
Yeah.
Just nature of the day and the fact that you're listening to a self-education podcast. It's just, you are of a higher on the other side of what they were worried about. But they also put it in place so that
even if you're listening to this on the toilet, that means you have indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
That's incredible compared to when this document was written. Yeah.
So it puts you in the safer side of being able to make decisions, but you're still at the mercy of this gatekeeper,
Right.
which a lot of people still don't understand.
Yeah.
So how does it work?
So essentially when you're casting a vote, and you know how we see it now during the primaries.
Mhm.
People are winning the state and they're getting these delegates. If you're winning the state during the general election, you are going to get the electoral votes of that state. There's only two exceptions, Maine and Nebraska, which they kind of go by county.
Mhm.
But everyone else, if you win the state, you're electing the selected electors for that state who have, barring a few exceptions throughout history, they've pledged to vote for a certain candidate. So when you're...
They have always pledged to vote.
They've always pledged, and
They've always pledged to vote for a certain
gone
candidate.
against, they're the, what are they called? Like the
faithless electors.
The faithless electors.
I would also like to point out the difference right now between the primaries and the actual general election. The primaries are set up by political parties.
Yeah.
The general election is done by the government. So political parties decide within themselves, however they feel like doing,
how many delegates you
vote,
need. And,
which is why, different states do different primaries or caucuses, Democrat and Republican, and they're libertarian, they're third parties, they're whatevers.
And
those are all done by the party. Once that's all taken care of, the parties themselves decide who's going to be the runner. Then we get to the general election, which is where this all takes shape.
Okay.
If you are voting in your state, there's a certain number of electoral votes from that state that's going to go to the general election. And that part of the Constitution that we read earlier, it gets to that. So there are the same number of electors from each state as there are members of the Senate and the House of Representatives. So if you win California, you're way more likely to win.
Changer, yeah.
Because they have, based on population, they have way more members of Congress.
Yeah.
So if you win California, you get like 55 electoral votes. And I think you need 270 total to win. And it's based on the number...
270 plus one.
Plus one, because they have DC involved as well.
Yeah, so that's half of the total plus one.
Yeah. So there's all the members of Congress, like the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then some from DC. But yeah, if you, theoretically, there are like the biggest 11 states. If you just won those 11 states, you would hit 270. So that's one of the big fears, is that if you, in this system, if you just totally campaigned the hell out of those 11 states and crushed it, like you could ignore the whole country. And that's part of what the system is built to prevent. So because of this, you need to get a broader base across the country, because you can't really, bank on, I'm just going to win 11 states and then that's it.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of spread your message and try to get a larger base of support across the whole country to kind of hedge your bets that you're going to win those big states for sure, spend a lot of money there. But you also have to have like the supporting characters of the states that just have smaller populations. I think like Wyoming is 600,000 people. Something ridiculous.
How many Wyomings alone makes up in LA, let alone the rest of California?
Yeah.
And that's just the
city of LA. So if it was just like a popular vote, or somehow based on like, I just win these states, Wyoming would have nothing to do with the government of the United States.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest argument for the Electoral College, is that right now what it sets up is a thing called battleground states, because California and Oregon, as we are all pretty aware living here, Washington, these states will vote Democratic.
Yeah.
There is no doubt at all, until the meaning of Democrat and Republican changes, they will be blue states.
Yeah.
So there's really no reason at all, once the general election starts, for Democrats to hang out over here.
Yeah.
They've won.
Yeah.
So they have to campaign in places that are called battleground states, which change every single election, but are places like Ohio and Florida and these states that are equally liberal and Republican and have also a pretty big demographic of neutral voters. And a lot of political scientists think that that's garbage and needs to go away, because it means that that's who the candidates are appealing to, these middle Americans that can't decide, not people that are already pretty vested. So it kind of rewards people for being apathetic.
Yeah.
But the alternative to that is popular vote, which would take something like Wyoming out of the picture. Idaho.
Yeah.
Totally meaningless. Why would you go there? 4 electoral college votes compared to California's 55?
Who cares?
DC, I mean, Delaware.
What you would end up
states.
doing is you would fight over large cities and everywhere else would be meaningless. So what would happen is...
It's urban-centric.
Yeah, in Oregon, Portland would matter.
Yeah.
Nowhere else would.
Not really.
Who gives a shit about Salem, the capital? There's a population there that means absolutely nothing to the ultimate.
Yeah.
And how this is all decided is a thing called apportionment, which is how we get our congressmen, because senators are the same for every state. That was part of the big compromise when we became a country, was that every state would have. Yeah. This was a worry of the small states at the time because they said,
originally, the fear is, well, if you have a state that has 10 times the number of people, do they have 10 times the representation? What's the point of even having a smaller state at that point? So then we have the Senate. So you have equal
everybody
representation.
Gets the biggest worry back then was the South. It wasn't even necessarily population of the state. The biggest worry was that slavery in the South was considered property. But the Southerners wanted them to be represented as people, even though their vote weight went to the owners, the white plantation owners. So they came up with this thing called the 3/5 compromise, which was every slave would count for 3/5 of a person.
That's weird.
And that all tallied up would make your population significantly bigger than these smaller places, which is why when it came to the Electoral College in the early part of our country, there was a president from Virginia 24 out of the first 32 years of our country. Because they all voted for themselves. Because of the Electoral College, the weight of this 3/5 compromise, this whole thing. It's all done by population now.
Yeah.
Which changes every 10 years during the census.
Yeah.
Next one's going to be in 2020.
Kanye.
What?
So everybody complaining about this like mass exodus of California up to Portland.
Yeah.
It could end up being that
it balances.
We end up getting more weight. Although we're looking at 7 to 55, there's no chance. Even 2-3 more electoral votes won't really change our position as a state. So that's just it's a non-argument, but it's a funny thought.
Yeah.
You know, immigration is good between states for the state because as long as they stay until the census, because they get more weight in the Electoral College, which is also why the battleground states are different every year. And every single one of these is just a little bit different because people move around the country.
Now, are battleground states the same as swing states?
They often
coincide?
Yeah, seem to be the same way because a swing state is a state that is feeling one way or the other.
Yeah, so the swing state is more, before an election, it's not inherently clear who the state's going for. You know, typically during the election, you look at the map of red and blue, and it's like the coastal states are more blue, and then the central states are more red. The swing states, though, are states that it's close enough, and I'm looking at a map right now of where money was spent during the last round of elections, and also the presidential visits, and it's identical, just the amount of, you know, the states that got money spent in it, and the candidate visited that state during the election. They're just really trying to soak up those states. Like the Republican candidate is not concerned about winning Nebraska. They're going to win.
Yeah.
The Democratic candidate knows that they're not going to win, so they're not spending any money there.
Yeah.
The Democratic candidate knows they're going to win California, not spending any money there, not really even going there. And the Republican candidate knows, like, yeah, California's going to the Democrat. I got to just try to soak up all these other states.
Right. Why would a Democrat spend any more money in Texas than they needed to?
No
point.
No point.
There's 38 delegates there.
It's a lot.
And that could turn the tide. But it'll be Republican.
Yeah.
And
doesn't matter.
And the Democrat has California at 55.
By far the biggest.
The big one. So you look at these states like Florida is huge, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I mean, it's kind of these states that will oscillate a little bit. You know, Maine, Although New England, I think, is mostly Democratic at this point.
It has really shifted quite a bit.
Yeah. But it's kind of telling looking at this map. Actually, Dan, here, I'll show you this.
Mhm.
So those states that have color over them is where money was spent, like per million, and also visits.
Wow.
And there's a lot of dead
much the same.
space.
Yeah.
And that's both Republican and Democrat.
Okay.
So those are the swing states that are just being fought over.
Okay.
So they know that they have some of these bigger states on kind of on lockdown, and they need to just find a way to get the electoral votes out of these other smaller states.
Right. Just to go back to apportionment for a second, it's not just about your state. The biggest issue here is districts. It's something like 600,000 people makes up a district, and your state is divided into districts of 600,000 people, which is why when you look at a map of Oregon and its districts, it's hilarious. We have 5 members of the House of Representatives, 2 congressmen, which gives us... 2 senators. 5 congressmen, 2 senators, which gives us 7 representatives, which gives us 7 electoral college votes. Right now, the next census could change that. When that is split up by district, there's kind of a upside down L shape that makes up Oregon of 4 districts. The southern left, like the southern west half of Oregon is pretty big.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 other sizable chunks, the one around the Portland metro area being the smallest, all divvied up by population. And then almost all
southeastern,
the whole East.
Yeah, whole
almost
East
the whole East is represented by one person because there's nobody out there.
It's like the Bundy families
and
out there.
they vote Republican.
Yeah.
They vote Republican.
Yeah.
So if you were to look at a map of the state and then chalk it up by color, 2/3 of the state would be red. But by population, hardly any.
Right.
Right.
So there is also this call to have votes done by district rather than by state, which is, what are the 2 states? Is it Maine and
Nebraska and Maine?
Yeah, I think that's how they do it.
They do it like that. They do it. There's another name for it of just like the system that they do it. I can find that. But yeah, they do it by district though, which there's a galloping cat.
Yeah, this cat is just running around the yard.
It's kind of great.
Have you never seen that cat before?
Oh, I've seen it back here. I've just never been outside with it. So yeah, so that aside from those 2 states, it's winner take all in every state during the general election. So
the congressional district method is that
makes sense.
Maine and Nebraska, yeah,
pretty descriptive. So those districts get made by the census every year based on population, and they can get made in any shape and size that they need to be to make up the right population. And early in this country's history, in the 1800s, one was made in the shape, a really odd shape, to fit in one specific demographic of people, to make sure that that district would vote a specific way, by a governor named Gerry. And there was a political comic at the time that took a picture of the state and turned that district into what looked like a huge dragon. And it was forever called gerrymandering, or Jerry's salamander, gerrymandering. And we still have that today, although people debate whether or not it's good, because a lot of the South will racially segregate their districts. And you think, well, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But then they also argue, no, it's good because it puts all these like-minded people
into one voice.
Yeah. But is that really true? Because they didn't decide to be that. It's like we just pushed all these in these really bizarre shapes. Like, they don't make any sense, but it's just, this is where all of these people live. This is where all these people live. So we'll kind of fit it together like a weird jigsaw, and they're going to be destined to vote together. So that's kind of an issue. I do like the taking the votes by district.
Yeah.
Equal representation for people, like direct representation, doesn't make a lot of sense to me because of that argument we were talking about earlier. It would turn battleground states into battleground huge cities.
Yeah.
It'd be New York versus California ethically.
Yeah.
It'd be Houston and Seattle would.
And the rest of the states wouldn't matter.
Nobody would give a shit what was going on in Colorado.
If you're a farmer out there, like you're
yeah, what does your say have to do with anything?
Just keep growing our food.
Even though you're now given an equal vote.
Yeah.
Iowa no longer matters.
Doesn't matter.
Who cares about Maine? Basically
half the country half the states in the country wouldn't matter.
Yeah, what would Kansas say about anything? Nothing. So it's this double-edged sword. What ends up happening is once all these districts are figured out, the electors are figured out by their political party. So let's just say hypothetically now, to keep it topical, Trump and Hillary win their primaries. What will happen is that Hillary will go through every state through the Democratic Party and find the most loyal Hillary Clinton supporters that do not hold office, that have been volunteering for decades in their party. Mm-hmm. And Trump will do the same through the Republican Party, right? And each state, like in Oregon, there will be 7 on each side. And in California, there'll be 55 on each side. In Texas, there'll be 38 on each side. And when you go to cast your vote, you will be voting for those 7 people in Oregon, those 38 people in Texas, those 55 in California, et cetera, to vote on your behalf for their behalf of the party that they've chosen to be loyal to. Make sense?
Yeah.
Is that not the same as just counting all the majority vote is for that party?
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's not.
Oddly enough. Now, why wouldn't it be?
This is also a system that predates the internet.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about, this makes a ton of sense if it takes a week and a half for your vote to kind of make it to DC, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Just by messenger. But I think that most people have kind of, there's a logical side of this, like what you just said, but there's definitely a gut reaction to kind of going, well, my vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If my district is just going to carry anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing about this too is that this is where you can see like the popular vote gets superseded by the electoral vote.
Right.
So you have like the majority of the people in the country want a certain person, but the other person just won those specific districts.
Yeah.
So you have that situation we had in 2000 where Bush wins, even though more people voted for Gore. That is kind of a problem.
Yes.
I would like to say here as a quote, the American Bar Association called the Electoral College archaic, undemocratic, complex, ambiguous, indirect, and dangerous. Many, but not all, political science oppose its continued use.
Huh.
So just keep that in a...
So lawyers.
mind. Yeah. No, we got to stop this. Doesn't make any sense.
One of the things I looked up this past week was other countries that have the Electoral College.
Oh.
None.
Were there any? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Which to me, okay, that there's two outcomes from that. One is we are doomed. The other is we're onto something.
Could be onto something.
I think we're onto something. I don't think that it's done.
Right.
Which again, I think it's one of those. The pliability of the Constitution itself is a huge benefit that we have. Yeah, I don't think that it's definitely not perfect, this system, but it would have folded a long time ago, I think.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a singular moment in the world.
We should talk about faithless electors for a second. Then I'll explain how the popular vote in the Electoral College could easily mismatch. But faithless electors are those elected to represent their party for the state. And when they go to cast their vote, there are laws set up in some states. About 2/3 of the states have laws against this, but none of them have ever been enforced, ever. They're just set up. And they are, by the Supreme Court, constitutional to enforce, but no one ever has. But when you go to cast your vote as an elector, it's not like we do where we go and we have a ballot and it's A or B. They have to write down the name of who they vote for.
Okay.
And they could vote for Sam Adams. It doesn't matter. They could vote for whoever they feel like. It doesn't have to be someone who's running. It could happen that George Bush gets elected again this time around because everyone just put his name down. That's not ever going to happen.
No.
But there's nothing to stop them from writing in their person.
Or like zombie Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That reminds me, I wanted to ask, when did we stop allowing presidents to serve more than 2 terms?
After Roosevelt, after
He served
FDR.
3, right?
Yeah. He served 4.
Did he?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Elected to 4.
I mean, those were very tumultuous times. You didn't want another leader.
Yeah, it was bad time to say, okay, so
Shake it up.
this is
Let's
the
pass the torch.
this is the circuit breaker box.
Yeah.
So that one's for the kitchen. If you need light bulbs, I actually bought a bunch. You can just keep them.
Yeah.
I guess.
Why don't you keep the thing afloat?
Hey, I'm gonna go golfing anytime you want.
Yeah.
I'll be on the links with my wheelchair.
A thing that's important, though, is that the only reason that is illegal is because we've all decided to not let that happen again. We
Right.
could decide at any time
Keep it rolling.
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
If we wanted Obama again, we could shout loud enough and it would happen. The
Yeah.
thing is, it wouldn't happen quick enough, but we could get him back.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, that's kind of the way things work. And that's sort of part of this indirect representation, is that we would start shouting for that. And by the time they heard it, it'd be too late, but they'd say, oh, well, we'll think about it for a while and argue and argue. And
Yeah.
then we'd have to get louder and louder until they just said, fine. And he'd probably be dead. But it's a possibility.
It's 100 years down the line. But
That's the important thing. The only thing that's stopping anything from happening is we do say so.
Right.
Ultimately. We just have to say so collectively loud enough and long enough. And that's a pretty beautiful thing. But these faithless electors, one of them was just mad and lost Gore a vote when he was running against Bush in a very close race because she was from Virginia and felt that, or not from Virginia, from the District of Columbia in Virginia, and
Mhm.
felt that Washington, D.C. was underrepresented and needed to just voice her concern that way, and so didn't cast a vote and possibly lost him the election.
what's her name?
I forget her name.
I'm sure she's gone on to bigger and better things.
Barbara Lett Simmons. Yeah, cast no electoral votes, has a protest of Washington, D.C.'s lack of congressional representation. The thing with Washington, D.C. is that a long time ago they made the rule that the District of Columbia would be represented as the smallest state.
So if the small state has 1 electoral vote,
Mm-hmm.
2 senators.
2 senators, 3. So
Yeah, 3's the minimum,
3, then DC just gets 3.
which is what they have.
If the minimum is 4, whatever, then it goes up.
Yeah, so it could go up. But so that's ridiculous. There are definitely better ways to protest that. And especially if it comes down to you pledge to vote for this person.
Yeah.
I totally am upset with that.
Yeah, me too.
To the core,
and you're-
philosophically, ethically, emotionally,
yeah,
stupid.
yeah, you're representing people in the real time, not like a theoretical. Well, maybe we should get more representation. Yeah, maybe you should. In the moment, though,
Mhm.
Yeah.
there
It's-
are people that are voting for you.
It's the cause was good enough to get it written down so that we could learn about it and repeat it to you here.
Yeah.
But it is a totally backwards way of doing it. It's saying this area isn't represented enough, so I'm not going to represent the people that should be represented. What the hell is that? Like, it doesn't mean anything.
Do you ever think about stuff like in situations? I don't know if it's just me, but I think there's some book deal on the table for her as the elector that went against the grain.
Yeah.
There's something going on there.
The thing is, they're supposed to be rewarded for this service already. That's kind of
Right.
the other backwards thing. These are the people that has the leader and soon to be, in theory, elected president of your party. It is you rewarding the most faithful of your party to do this service.
Right.
And then they turn around and they don't.
Yeah. That I think is what gets me. That makes me believe that there's ulterior motives that to get in that position, you have to be towing the party line to begin with. Decades. I mean, you're this faithful kind of, voice of the party. And then to just turn around
And to be a Democratic leader for a long time in Washington, D.C., but not a politician is a very odd situation to
That's
be in.
strange. Yeah.
It's a really small place, and everyone who's anyone in the game is in the game, and you are just helping them fundraise
Yeah, but
you're also the best at it.
You've been eating the shrimp scampi, the pigs in the blanket. You've been glad handing, and then you just.
Because if you remember from the Constitution, you cannot be a member of office.
Yeah,
cannot be a member of office and be an elector, which makes a lot of sense.
Man.
Yeah,
man,
we have a strange country.
We do.
That's true.
I think it's pretty cool, though. I like it. I like.
Right.
I like that we have this kind of weird, quirky system.
I like, honestly, I like how long it took me to figure out what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Because
they don't tell you this. When you're turning 18, you can start to vote.
Yeah, so just go vote.
They say, hey, it's your civic duty.
Hey, your vote counts.
Yeah.
Your vote counts.
Rock the vote.
Hey.
But the thing is, the more you learn about the U.S. government, the more you're able to place blame on the right people, which is very important.
It's very important.
Most people do not.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you also become very aware of where work and change can and needs to be done. Because the president is a very important person, but not to me and you.
No. That's something that I've been thinking about a little bit this week.
They're foreign relations.
Yeah.
They set the agenda and mood of the country. But people blame Obama for the weirdest shit.
Yeah.
He has nothing to do with any of this. It's like we've been learning about
Thanks, Obama.
Corruption and bureaucracy and all this other stuff. There's roads that continually get paved and paved and paved. And there are roads that don't in the same neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And every 2 years, they pave the same road again. Well, you know who's the corruption there? The contractor.
Yeah.
Taking that contract, not telling anybody, and then the numerous people of oversight before it gets to the governor.
Yeah.
Or the mayor.
It's
not their fault. I mean, ultimately it is. They should have been looking at it, but you have the manager of a city with so much going on, let alone the president managing the country and the foreign relations. There's so much going on. Yeah, they probably should have been like, oh my God, we've paved that street every 2 years for the past 6 years, whatever. But
funny thing is, I've never seen that street.
Yeah, I've never been there. There's 15, 20 people that should have noticed that first to tell somebody.
I think that's one of those weird things too. People are afraid to stand out, by and large.
Totally.
So politics is no different. You have a herd mentality. People just kind of getting along.
Mm-hmm.
You got one dude who's crazy enough or one person who's crazy enough to run to be president, and then it's like, yeah. The sink in my house backed up. What the fuck, president? Whoever. Like, this is something I thought about with the Supreme Court nomination.
Yeah, that's a bunch of shit.
Okay. So you're the president. Hypothetically, you're the president. You have to balance all this foreign relations stuff. You've got people, like the business side of America, coming to you, trying to find tax law, like balance all this stuff.
Yeah, how can we screw China out of their tariffs?
How can we do it?
Sir?
How can we do it?
You got an idea?
Yeah.
You want to let me into China without having to pay any of their taxes because I'm American?
I got my folder of ideas. Hang on a second. But then you're supposed to know a judge to nominate. Who the hell? Like,
and you know what's great about Obama, honestly? He picked the best one.
Yeah.
He picked the most conservative, one that was voted into his last position unanimously
in
by
the 90s,
everyone.
Yeah. Well,
in the next step before
this
Supreme
guy was
Court.
also like on the short list 2 other times under Obama. But I just love the idea of like he talks about him where it's like, listen, Alex Rodriguez is bringing something to the Yankees that you're just not going to find. Okay, this is a gift from God, and he's gonna cover third base. He's gonna get your runs. He's gonna get on base. I am 100% confident that given all of Obama's qualifications, for me, there's still no way I would know Merrick Garland's name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how the hell is that his job?
While you have. You have North Korea shooting missiles everywhere.
But he's talking about him like, hey, listen, I've been following his career. I got his
calling you.
Yeah.
Granted, he does come from a history of law, so he's
That's true.
He's got that shit on
He's a
lockdown.
rare case.
And the other thing, too, you don't think about this much. The actual legacy of a president is their Supreme Court.
Because it lasts 30, 40 years, maybe, in some cases.
Yeah, that's actually
Scalia
the legacy.
Was in the 80s. Reagan appointed him. I mean, that's...
And he just said, don't ever go against the Constitution.
Okay.
Just don't. If it's not in there,
don't.
Just don't do it. Yeah. I mean, it's a lifetime appointment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's just one of those things that I think really cracks me up. Like the power of the president of the United States is huge.
It's monumental. It's not to take anything away from them. They're the most powerful person in the country. But checks and balances. That was the whole point.
It's the whole point.
Like we have this whole issue right now of Congress is blocking all the moves that Obama's done his whole time there, and he's been popular enough to be there twice, even with that. So when you have these super radical people, Trump and Sanders, when they become president, they're going to set this agenda for a more liberal or hyper-conservative or just change in the agenda that they're both pushing for. The funny thing, I was thinking about this today, the funny thing, what they both have in common is they're both angry.
Yeah.
They're just taking it out in different areas. But everyone else is like a politician and just kind of like, this is my next move.
Yeah.
And then they're sitting there screaming at America going, we got to fucking change everything. They're just, one of them wants to build a wall and the other one wants to send everybody to college. So like, what do you think?
Yeah.
But once they get there, you think Congress
is going to do anything?
Yeah. If you want to make a difference with your vote, stop paying so much attention to the president and start paying attention to your congressman.
Yeah.
Do you know who your congressmen are?
No.
No, you don't. I don't.
No.
I've been studying this shit. I don't.
Yeah.
They don't matter.
They don't matter.
Yeah. Because we don't care.
I probably...
Those are the people...
I guess most people don't know that they should care.
Those are the people that matter.
I probably cast a vote for one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah, you'll vote for one. And the beautiful thing is incumbent congressmen have like a 95% reelection rate.
Wow.
Because they have all of the money, right? They have people behind them that say, you've done this for us in the past.
My job is relying on you being in office.
They buy their job by being a congressman already or congresswoman. They get an allotment from the national government or the state government. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. They get an allotment from our taxes to send letters to us that say, hey,
Vote
this
for
is me. I'm your congressman. Like, thanks. Yeah.
See ya.
So,
see you a couple years.
They not only get all this money, they get all this name recognition from being our congressman already and being on billboards and coming back and giving us things like, that's called pork barrel politics. They bring home the bacon. They bring us stuff. But they also get money from the government to get their name out there even more. So somebody who's running against a current congressman has to spend a shit ton of money and convince people that he or she has done a bad job, which is like impossible. The funny thing about Congress approval rate is terrible. It's like 8%. Like nobody thinks Congress is good.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
It's awful. But your congressman has like a 80 or 90% approval rate. Everybody thinks their congressman is great and the other 470 suck.
Yeah.
Everybody in the country. That's how it works. The people that, are part of those surveys.
Right.
What do you guys think about this? About whoever's in office, whoever is representing you, technically representing you to the United States government, that has nothing to do with your personal happiness.
No.
And if you really care about voting, you're kind of caring about what message do you want America to send to the world?
Mm-hmm.
Because, Trump or Bernie Sanders or Hillary or Cruz, like you're not interviewing with them to get a job at Starbucks. Like that doesn't matter, who it is. It does matter in like a meta scale, but your personal circumstances are so far removed from like the shitty congressperson that
do you think either whoever's president will have absolutely no control at all over whether or not we sink into another depression?
Yeah, they're not the economy.
It happens every 15, 20 years throughout American history.
Every 7 years we go into a depression.
Even
recession.
better. Yeah, It happens all the time. It has nothing, like there have been instances where their policies direct, like Andrew Jackson was like, everything has to be paid in gold and we don't have much of it and I don't care because I hate the bank. So so that makes sense. But like ever since then, it's just been, it's
an ebb and flow.
We don't hire economists to control our economy.
I think, isn't 7 years, it's like the rabbit population in the wild where it's like, it like peaks and valleys every 7 years. It's just...
Which makes sense as like a natural occurrence. We aren't just going to have this amount of money. I'd like to get back to the Electoral College here for just a minute, although I do love all of this stuff. A by the numbers example, really bare bones of how the Electoral College could be different than the popular vote.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we have 3 states. State A has 3,000 people, votes, whatever. State B has 6,000 and State C has 10,000. And let's say it gets split up as State A is 1,400 go to the Democrats, 1,600 go to the Republicans, which give the Republicans the majority in the state and 3 Electoral College votes what their state is worth. State B, with their 6,000 votes, 5,000 vote Republican.
Mm-hmm.
A Texas, or even like an Iowa, a smaller state. And 1,000 vote Democratic. So they clearly win with 6 votes. And then we have like a California, just, has the example, with 10 votes or 10 Electoral College electors and 10,000 people, where 3,000 of them vote Republican and 6,000 vote Democrat. So they get all 10. And what you have at the end is an electoral vote of 10 Democratic, 9 Republican, winner take all. Democrats win.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of the population was 8,400 Democrat, 9,600 Republican.
Yeah.
So even if it's 1,200 more, just the way districts work out and population of state works out, it doesn't matter about popular vote.
Yeah.
And of course, this is a very simple example, and I hope that works verbally as well as it does when you look at it in like a little graph.
I think that makes sense. That the actual number of votes it's not a one person, one vote system. So the actual number of votes is not vital.
Mm-hmm.
But the number of districts and electoral votes won is. It's a very strange thing.
Yeah.
Have you guys voted every single time you've been eligible to vote?
No, I didn't vote my late teens.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
I voted for Obama both times, but I didn't vote prior to that. I went and saw Kerry speak, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
Like Sanders just came through, and I wanted to go see him, but it's such a shit show.
I bet.
And especially in this day and age, I'm totally content watching him speak on YouTube, on CNN, whatever. Any of them. I'll watch their debates. Like, I'm totally into it. And there is something magical about seeing him in person, but I feel the same way as I do about huge bands.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in seeing a radical person who might not be the best speak locally than I am about a well-oiled machine rolling through that's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time just to go say I saw.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I can get the same
now we don't
information. Yeah. And it's crazy to go see that. I mean, people line up.
Yeah,
and people are just screaming, sharing opinions and all that. And like, I'm a homebody.
Yeah.
I don't need it anymore.
I don't need it.
Do we have anything else for the Electoral College? I mean, I feel like, do you have any questions?
Do you feel like that was a pretty good explanation of it? Do you want to?
As far as I know, yeah. I think we did it.
Good.
All right.
As long as you feel like you got your point across.
Yeah. Ultimately, if you want to look into it anymore, each state has a different way of doing things. Like it is with the primaries. Like I said earlier, the primaries are done by political party, which is absolutely not a thing in actual constitutional federal government. That is a thing that we make up and subscribe to. They change all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if we're about to see them change pretty dramatically in the next 4 or 8 years. Especially with the way this election has gone, where nobody seems to be happy about anything.
Right.
And that's a totally natural thing. It's happened a lot throughout our history. But those are all done sort of like they're separate entities, like corporations or something. Like the Democratic Party does its own thing and goes through each state to tally up itself and then enters a person in the general election, which is federally run and an actual governmental thing. So there are some rules there, like the Constitution states that we will decide when the vote will take place. So that happens across the board the same day every time.
Yeah.
Which is not true for the primaries. There's a little bit of history to why we do the things the way that we do. A lot of the founders were so scared of tyranny and people, and we touched on that a little bit, but the government that we had right before our current government was a thing called the Articles of Confederation. A lot of people don't know we had 9 or possibly 14 presidents before George Washington.
What?
Yeah, George Washington was just the first president under the Constitution.
Huh.
We had a ton of what they were called congressional presidents. We didn't have an actual executive branch for the first while. So the reason we have the government we do today, at first the colonies all wanted to be independently governed. They wanted to be a confederacy. The difference here is that confederacy is a group of people that give the federal government power.
Mm-hmm.
Like a republic is just the opposite. It's a government that gives smaller states power.
Right.
We live in a very different set of that. We give the Constitution power, which gives both sects separately power, which is why you see like a lot of arguments between states' rights and federal government.
Oh, right.
Whatever, because it's all the Constitution's the only thing that actually has power. But they wanted like no power at all to be given to the executive branch. It was just a Congress that couldn't do anything, and then each state did stuff. Not to get into too many details, there's a thing called the Shays Rebellion, which led to the whole country realizing that a weak federal government is awful. And maybe we'll do a whole nother segment on that. If you're interested, look into Shays Rebellion and how that led to the Constitution that we have, because it's pretty cool. I like to geek out about this kind of stuff.
Well, I'm glad.
Me
It's
too.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, government's important.
Sure is.
It is important.
Mm-hmm. And the more you know, the more you feel like you can be in control. And
I think you can be in control, but not the way you think.
yeah.
Right. Learn how much power you have and how it's actually used.
Being more thoughtful in general about like your vote is good.
Yeah.
People like to get all excited this time every 4 years. But it's a horse race is what it is.
Yeah.
You've seen this since the beginning of the year, and even before that, it gets earlier and earlier. Every single debate, every TV appearance, every state matters so much, and then as soon as it's over, didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about the Iowa caucus right now? Anyone, raise your hands. And that was the biggest deal of the week. Everybody said, oh my God, look at this turnout and all that. Blah, 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 blah. And it didn't matter at all.
That's why
it
that's why
does
people live in
ultimately
Iowa.
matter,
Yeah.
but yeah, everybody just talks about, oh my God, how is this election going to shape up? Nobody knows. It's
No one
it's
cares.
horse race. It's sport. And people come out of the woodwork to talk about politics this time of year, and that's great. But
They don't give a shit.
no, what they're admitting to you, even though they might not know it, is that they care a whole lot about the precedent set by this president's party and agenda. And they believe so much in this agenda. We want to get these things done. I'm going to vote for Trump because I believe in no more immigration. I believe in having business run things, or I'm going to vote for Cruz because I think that there's too much power in government, or I'm going to vote for
And Christ
Sanders
is coming back.
and Christ is coming back, or I'm going to vote for
Get ready for
Sanders
that.
because I believe in more equality for everybody and spreading out the wealth and whatever. And that's all great. But how many of those big ticket items are going to be fulfilled when they're in office? All they're saying is this is the attitude we're going with.
Right.
Yeah.
So the people that are really excited right now are truly excited. And that's great. You should be excited right now. But you should also be paying attention to who your fucking mayor is.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's the point, is
Yeah.
who's
Charlie
in
Hales?
charge. Yeah.
Is that ours?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
Is he?
I don't know. He's almost out. Who knows? I don't pay attention to the mayor. I'm telling myself, pay attention to your mayor.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
That does affect you more immediately.
Mm-hmm. Not that the president doesn't matter, but you're so many steps removed from the president to you personally.
Yeah.
So that's even why your vote isn't you directly, as we learned today.
That's what we learned today. All right.
Well, that was fun.
Thanks, guys.
I had
you.
a pretty good
Rock that
time.
vote.
Rock the vote.
All right.
All right. Love you.